Hello everyone, welcome to Tech Learnings. It's been quite long since I published content for Tech Learnings, a project which is close to my heart, which I used to share my share of knowledge, my share of experience with the people of our industry, so that they can also benefit from that. So this I really enjoy, I would say, and it's been years that I published content for that, but now it's the time to you know reinvest my time into that and into the thing which I really enjoy. So I have chosen this topic today, which is the Facebook outage, and we are in fact, I think most of you are already aware of what went wrong that day. The Facebook, why I'm using the term Facebook. Instagram was also down, WhatsApp was also down because the parent company is Facebook. So that's the reason Facebook outage, I'm saying. Now, in this basically session of ours, or in this video particularly, we are going to talk about I'll summarize first what is in the pipeline, I would say. So we are going to talk about outage, what exactly was wrong in terms of a normal user, and then second we will take one step more into depth in terms of technical. If you are a Facebook employee, or if you are working for Facebook, you know how do you see that outage? What was exactly not functioning? So that part we are going to talk about. Then after that, why did it take so long? So long, 6 hours of outage, global outage, everything was down. How is that possible? Being as an engineer, it amazes you. You always think that such a day never comes, but of course we are into it, and in such an industry that anything can happen. 6 hours of outage, everything was down. Why did it take so long? 6 hours is a big window. So we are going to talk about that part. And lastly, how was it resolved? And of course, whenever we do such RCAs, we always talk about preventive measures. How will you avoid such problem in future? So these are the broad uh, you know agenda, or the bullet points on which we are going to talk about. And yeah, so let's start. So I have noted down few points in my notebook, uh, while doing my research. So most of the points I just say it very frankly, that this information has been taken from internet, of course, and the source of truth has been the engineering blog of the Facebook. So engineering.fb.com, you can also go and check out the outage details, but here I'm going to try explain you all those details in a very simple language. So let's talk about the outage. 6 hours of outage, I already said. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, all was down. So for a normal user, if I'm trying to access that, it was not available. Facebook has confirmed it was not hack. There was no malicious activity on their system. There was no data that was compromised as a result of this outage. And we know that okay, these services were unavailable, but there was something more which was unavailable, and that was some internal tools of the Facebook employees use some tools, for various purposes in their day-to-day work, and those tools also stopped working. Such was the impact of this outage. So in terms of business, tens of millions of dollars of you know business impact. And last outage, I think, which I could find out, was in 2019, and it was almost for 24 hours. The Facebook was down. So this is pretty much about the outage. So if you see, if you try to visualize it, the impact of it, it's huge, man. It's huge. Now, as per our agenda, second step, let's try to see in terms of technicalities, right? So in order to understand the technicalities, we have to understand data centers. So Facebook has data center. There, of course, there is not going to be single data center. There are multiple data centers across, spread across the globe, and these data centers are connected via fiber optic cables. As per Facebook, there are, I would say tens of thousands of optic cables that are connecting, these data centers. So that's how the connectivity is there between the data centers. Okay. Now, one more point about data centers is how they look like. So data centers, they are massive buildings. Some are huge, some are smaller facilities. Massive buildings, millions of computers, so they are, the, you can say, the heart where your data actually relies, where your computation actually happens, where your request is actually processed. So there are massive buildings, and plus there are smaller facilities, and these are data centers are connected via, just like we talked about, they are connected via the cables. All right, so far so good. Now there comes a point or a term here, a routers. So the connectivity between, the different data centers, there are routers, in place, which govern the traffic, incoming traffic, outgoing traffic. The routers are the ones which govern that traffic. So it means if somehow these routers go down, there is a, possibility that your data center connectivity can be or can get broken, right? So this is one point. Routers, just like I just reiterate, the role of the router is to figure out where to send the incoming traffic, where to send the outgoing traffic. Okay, so if I open Facebook or means any of the services on my device, so first request goes to this smaller facility. This smaller facility then, redirects the request to the largest facility, which is, larger data center, and where from where the request is, processed, and then the response flows back to the original device from where the request was received. And routers, just like I said, routers come in between the connectivity parts. So what exactly went that day, the day of outage? So now, there are multiple data centers. We There are, cables who, which are of so large length. So some have to be repaired. Sometimes you have to add a new cable to increase your network capacity. Maybe a faulty cable, you have to repair that as well. So you have to, when that repair is being done, so, or sometimes you may have to upgrade, the software of the routers itself. So coming back to the point, when such maintenance is to be performed, so what you will normally do, you will, you know uh, take off that part of the system, make it offline, and then do the maintenance and again bring it back. That's how the usual maintenance was done. So on that day, coming back to the outage day now, so on that day also, one such maintenance was done. So a command was fired. What was that command? Command was that, get me the availability of all global, that they use the term backbone network. Give me the available network capacity for all my backbone network. I repeat, give me, let's say you fire a command, give me the available network capacity for all my global global network, right? So global network is so big, so huge. Net command was fired, and that command, which was, uh, which was supposed to be completed, but it unintentionally brought down entire network. And that's where the problem, was. That command was fired, all network connectivity was broken. So it means, in other words, the data centers were not able to communicate among themselves, right? Data center connectivity is broken, completely broken now. You see, when let's say let's talk in normal terms. Whenever you are performing some operation, let's say you are copying a file from one location to another, and that file is too big, or your, or your whole memory is consumed, so your system hangs in the end maybe it crashes. So how do you avoid those problems? You click, if it's taking too long, you cancel that operation, right? So Facebook has already, which they call as audit tools. There are audit tools, which take care of these things, that if a command is fired and it is taking too long, okay, so it is the responsibility of those tools to automatically cancel that command. So were those tools not in place at that time? The answer is no, they were in place. But there was a bug. There was a bug in those software tool or audit tool, I should rather say that, which prevented that command from, stopping. Command was not stopped due to bug in the audit tool, and that, you know, crashed the entire network connectivity between data centers. Now we know the first part of the problem. There was another thing which was, which went wrong. Now these smaller facilities which we talked about, so they, when you, like I said, when you send a request from your device, it first goes to the smaller facilities than, maybe the larger data centers. So these smaller facilities, smaller data centers, they has DNS servers as well. So DNS is, nothing but like it takes the simple plain string, like you said, fb.com or facebook.com, and then it has a mapping of the corresponding, it maps it to an IP address, simple. So the DNS part, coming to the DNS part, now Facebook says that, the protocol uh, which these DNS servers which are housed within your smaller facilities, the term is BGP, border gateway protocol. So they accept, the traffic in using this protocol, border gateway protocol. And please listen to this second part carefully. And if these DNS servers, if they find the state of the internal traffic, internal connectivity, I should say, internal connectivity is unhealthy, if the network state of the internal traffic is unhealthy, then these DNS servers, they are built in that way that, they stop accepting the traffic. Because in the end, what you're doing, you are getting the traffic, but that traffic is, there is no meaning of that, right? Because your internal network health is unhealthy, right? So you may, if it is, let's say, you may also, crash your internal network as well, with more the with more requests, by sending more requests to the internal traffic. So that's why these DNS servers, they stopped advertising the requests, or stopped entertaining the requests, and protocol which I mentioned is BGP, border gateway protocol. So these were the two problems which happened. One was the connectivity between the data centers was broken, and second, these DNS servers, they stopped entertaining the requests. That is why, if if we tried to search for Facebook, it was, the request was not reaching to the DNS servers. So this is actually was happening at that time. Now coming back to the resolution part, and why did it take so long? So these data centers, we know the problem was this. So data centers connectivity was broken, so your traffic, you cannot access them, or you cannot debug them via normal ways, right? And plus these audit tools, right, they were also, not working at that time because of this issue, right? Because of, maybe because of the DNS issue. So audit tools, which Facebook says that, they use them in such scenarios to investigate the use cases, to investigate the failure, why, why it happened, or to debug those things. So they were also not working. So people have had to be physically sent to the data centers on site, just go there and see now what is wrong, try to, debug the issue, and then maybe, what, as an engineer, what we do, restart and try to restart the system. So And like I said, these data centers are massive buildings or maybe smaller buildings, but they are highly secured. Even if you enter physically, right? First of all, that is why it took time, because now you are going manually, physically to that location and trying to, debug the issue. So that, those security protocols had to be followed. Okay, you entered into the building, but even if you entered, you cannot, the systems are secure enough that, you cannot easily manipulate the data in them. You cannot change the, let's say, router configurations easily. So that is why it took time. And 6 hours is like, the reason is why the, you know the debug process, uh, or this whole scenario took more time, because the people had to be physically sent to the data center to see what was the issue. Now they went to the data center, they debugged the issue, and they found out, okay, the configuration change was, this command was fired, I would say. This command was fired, and that's why that's has caused the entire network to break down. So that was rectified. The network was, uh, the network was brought to its normal internal network. Now there was still one thing to be kept in mind. Remember, Facebook was down for 6 hours around. If you turn on, and DNS, and let's talk about the DNS part as well first. So the DNS, when this it sees, the state is healthy now, so it will start entertaining the requests. Okay, now coming back to the original part. Now, there was one more thing which was to be taken care of, as Facebook was down for a long time. So you cannot just turn on the entire system in one go. Otherwise, because the traffic is so much, everybody is trying to, continuously access. So it can crash your system again. It can crash your entire ecosystem or infrastructure, because you will be bombarded by the traffic. So what, they cannot switch it on in one go. So how it has to be done? So there, Facebook calls a term. They used to conduct storm drills, storm, storm drills. So what these storm drills are basically, where they, try to uh, you know test their system against such, outages. Like for example, they will take one service down, or entire data center down, not the global one, for a particular location, let's say. And they used to then test the resilience of their system, that, perform the stress testing and all that. So they had pretty much a good exposure or experience in, how to bring back the systems after such, outages, or after such testing. So this storm testing which they had done, so it helped them. It helped them to bring back the system online. But the key point here is, you cannot turn it on in one go. So in the blog it is not mentioned that how it was done, means what was the approach. I believe it should be incremental. You cannot, turn on your system in one shot. Okay, so that's how these storm deals helped them. They gave them the confidence that, okay, we can bring our system online. And that's how it was, it was brought online after, so much of effort, and so much of, you know debugging. Spent 6 hours. 6 hours is a big duration. It's not a small, when your entire, global network is down. So that's how it was, actually. Now coming back to one last part, which is the prevention part. How will you prevent that in future? So as per them, they are saying that, okay, we will make our testing more robust, because they were, doing storm drills, but it was for one region, or for one data center, or for a service, but it was never tested for, a global outage. So they'll think on those terms, that how, they can devise their testing strategies in a way that global outage can be prevented. So that's how it is. So I use, I think it's around maybe 20 minutes now. I pretty much try to, explain uh, what was wrong, and in terms of technical, in terms of, you know in terms of Facebook, what was wrong and how was the problem rectified, and preventions that Facebook has taken up. So I hope you were able to understand, or even I was able to explain the content to you. And thank you so much for watching this. And yeah, see you in the next video. uh, yeah, next time. Bye bye, take care and have a nice time.